Hey guys, it's your girl Corporate Carolyn, and I'm wrapping up a work day like usual. What's new? However, there is something that I wanted to tell young women, especially out there with children. You might not be young, you might, be 30, 40, 50, I don't know, raising children. But if you're out in the dating field and you're looking for your Mr. Right, trying to find that right guy to share your life with, maybe to be a father to your children in the absence of their father, whatever the case may be, I have a piece of advice, being a nosy auntie, that you never thought you needed or wanted. I would recommend highly, and I don't know your business, but I think letting a man live with you when you're not married is a bad thing. And I don't mean from a biblical perspective in terms of fornication and all that stuff. In this particular case, I'm talking about if you have children that you're raising, the thought of letting a man live with you, one, is a bad idea, because I think of men protecting and providing for women. So the thought that he would need to live with you is a bad idea already. It's the wrong start for a future with a guy who's going to help you hold it down, bring something to the table that you guys can build something together. And all of the talking that I've been saying about, finding your Mr. Right, I'm hoping that I'm conveying the idea that you shouldn't be taking care of anybody. If anything, you guys need to be pooling your resources so that you can provide a better life for you, your family, or whatever. So that's number one. But number two, if you have daughters, and in this day and age, even if you have sons, you need to keep a close eye out. You don't want someone that you're not married to and is fully vetted around your children, especially your daughters. And I mean this because you don't know if they're really looking for you or looking at you, or if they're looking at one of your children, possibly grooming, or possibly trying to molest when you least expect it. And a lot of times there are some men who are nice to the moms with the intention of getting close to their children. And I'm speaking from experience. When I was 8, my mom had someone living with us. Just bad idea. And then when I finally mentioned this to her, probably about 18 years ago, she was saying she had never left me alone with him, but it's not true. He would be there at the house when I would come home from 3rd grade. And guess what? This family friend would do. He molested me. And so I was molested at 8 by a man that my mom had living with us. I don't know why said man was at our house while my mom is out working. That already, now that I'm 58, that says deadbeat to me. So this was 50 years ago. I didn't think about that. So it's kind of serendipitous that I'd make a video 50 years later warning women to be careful about the men that they're really allowing to live with you. Not only should you protect by not having a lot of men around your children, just in general, but I mean living with, where they have unlimited access, where you might be in the shower, you might be asleep, you might have gone out to Walmart or something. You don't know that person could be molesting your child. And the interesting thing about children, especially children who don't have fathers in their lives, like I didn't. My father, like I recommended that ladies stick around with their husbands as long as the guy wasn't beating, cheating, in criminal activities or things like that. My dad was doing all of the above. Like Shirley Caesar said, you name it. And he was doing it. So my mom separated from him at 4. And it's interesting, we lived with a man, and he lived with us like during that time that my parents were separated. But praise the Lord, that guy, he was a good man, and he didn't do anything to me, even as my mom was in the hospital, like having a hysterectomy and stuff. So he was a better person. However, my parents got divorced. Sorry, that was ice. Sorry. Anyway, at 7, my parents got a divorce, and so I didn't really have any father figures that were close by. Like the uncles that I had were not as encouraging as I would have liked a father figure to be. In fact, a lot of them made jokes about, my father and referring to him as my old daddy. So I felt really, really bad. And they were making these jokes around kids whose fathers were in the picture. And so I really struggled. And my mom, was going through a difficult time because she was raising a child by herself. We were living in low income housing, and then ultimately we wound up in the projects and things. And so it was just a weird time, not having money, not seeing my dad, even though he lived less than 10 miles from us. It was just a whole bunch of things. And my mom and I never really had a close relationship, not where I would say, this person touched me, that person did this or that. She was so busy making a living, providing for us, that she didn't see signs that probably should have been obvious. And so we've gone through a little something in the last year, and I wound up writing her a letter, telling her about some of the things that I experienced. And one of the things that's kind of funny, and that's the point I'm trying to make there, is that if things are going on with a child, it's not a given that they would tell you. Like some women would say, oh, well, my child would tell me if something happened. Well, I didn't tell my mom until I was 40. And so that was 18 years ago that I finally mentioned it. And that was when she said that she had never left me alone with him. And I had to tell her that that wasn't true. And I also reminded her with a picture. This is me at 8. And I'm at the only birthday party. I don't know if you can see it with the glare. This is the only birthday party that I ever remember being at. And I was looking at this picture, wondering why I was so sad. And you guys can't tell in the picture, but I'm holding like a straw from a broom. And, I'm kind of like putting it in my mouth or whatever. And I was wondering, why do I look so sad when I was wearing my favorite dress? I think it might even had a cow on the bottom. It had like some sort of design on it. But, and so for the people who wondered if my hair was always long, no, my hair wasn't always long. But anyway, in this picture, I was telling my mom, if you had really noticed as much as you thought you noticed, you would see that your daughter is sad at the only birthday party she's ever had. And it was because I thought about it. It was because it was a time that that particular man lived with us. And so I was being molested in this picture. This is what molested looks like. And so my mom didn't even notice that was at the party, the only birthday party that I ever had as a kid. And of course, it would be ruined by that. That's the only picture from that party. And then also, along with that, sometimes men are grooming your children if they are not good guys. The majority of men are good. I'm not going to say that, every guy that you date or bring home is a molester. I'm just saying you got to keep your eyes open on them and on your children, and making sure until you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can trust them to be left alone. Because what a lot of ladies don't realize is that men are grooming children in order for them to trust them. That guy could tell that I was craving, male attention and affection. And he knew that my father wasn't around. And he could see that obviously the uncles weren't filling in the gap with that. And I was pretty lonely. No siblings, mom working a lot, us not getting along that well. He saw a perfect opportunity. And then I remember this beautiful doll I used to love, which I think I wound up throwing away, that he had given to me. And then another picture that I remember from this period. And I don't have a lot of pictures from my childhood. The fact that I have these pictures, my mom gave them to me, not realizing that later in life it would trigger some things for me. And like, here's a picture here of me being in bed in a pajama set. And again, I was 8. And in this picture, I was like, why am I posing with my night clothes on? And I remembered that this is an outfit that my mother's boyfriend bought for me. Why would her boyfriend buy pajamas for me? I believe that he bought this pajama outfit. And why would a man who's not a child's father or close relative be taking a picture of her posing in the bed like that? Where was my mom? How did she not know? And I guess back then they knew of men messing with people because they talked about, how this deacon at the church, you couldn't leave him around your sons because he would try to mess with them. And then the fact that they allowed him to remain a deacon, I have no idea why, but the fact that you have a man in your home with your daughter and he gives that kind of picture, that should have been a red flag all day long. But my point is not to bash my mom or anything, excuse me, because back then, it wasn't talked about. It wasn't common. No one would come out and say, I was molested. It was like kind of a thing of shame and embarrassment. And one of the reasons I love Joyce Meyer is because she talks about how her father molested her. And it kind of made me more comfortable, talking about it to someone other than my husband, because I think he was probably one of the first people that I talked about this with. So, it's not to bash my mom, but it's to say that sometimes as we're bringing men around our children, there's signs that we could overlook. A child could feel ashamed, embarrassed, confused, disillusioned, betrayed. There could be any number of reasons that they might not tell you. But if they ever do act like they're uncomfortable around someone, or, say that they don't want to be around that particular cousin, uncle, aunt, whatever, be sure that you listen to your children and don't leave them. And it's so funny. It's led to me being so close to my sons who are getting ready to turn 28 and 30 later this year, because I kept them with me all the time. And my mom said, you need to get used to letting them stay with people. And I'm like, no, I don't. Thinking that you let me stay with some people. And I even had an uncle that would have molested me if I didn't sleep with the door locked when I lived with him for a time, and who I'll make you laugh. Be careful with relatives too, because this uncle had the nerve. I think I asked him for money to pay for the SAT, and it might have been like $15 or something back in the 80s, and he said, well, I'll make it 25 if you give me some of the P word. And I wound up leaving. I said, I'm going home now. And, if you ever say anything else like that to me again, he tried to blame it on his medicines and all this other things. But I had heard that he had approached certain girls in the neighborhood where he lived. And I said, if you ever say anything like this to me again, if you ever look at me the wrong way again, because by that time I was like 17. And I'm like, I'm not going to get got again. And so he was like, Santa, what's my medicine? I don't know what's wrong with me. I said, but if I ever hear anything like this, I'm going to not only tell your fiance, but I'm also going to tell everybody at the church, because of course he was a deacon too. So I don't care if the people are in the church, what they're in, keep them away from your children. But the main thing is, don't let men live with you. Even if you have a guy that you want to get married and he needs to get himself together, he's down on his luck, let him stay on somebody's couch. Let him stay at his mama's house and raise money until he's ready to approach you in a position that he's ready to marry you, hopefully. Please, please, please. And then that you're going to buy something together or rent something together, but just don't have a man living in your house for free and, being around your children. It sends a bad message, and it also could leave the door for a predator to prey on one of your precious babies. So sorry I talked so long, but I really had to get that out there, because I was debating about throwing those pictures away, and I almost threw them away after I wrote the letter to my mom, letting her know how hurtful some things that she said have been to me, and the fact that I don't think she's sorry. I don't think she's just from a different day. And so, but that's not about her. It's about what happened to me and what I don't want to happen to your precious babies. So be careful, ladies. Keep your eyes open. Now that you have your children, they're your number one priority. You don't want anything to happen to them, and you don't want them at 58 still working through, issues related to that. You want to protect them. You only get one shot, and once something is done, It can't be undone. That's why I kept my boys so close to me and tried to, make sure they were with us unless I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, as much as you can humanly know, because you got to leave them with somebody, that you feel good about it. But like just being in a home, unsupervised with some other adult, I think it's too much of a risk to take. Don't do it. But anyway, sorry about talking so long. Got to get back to work anyway, even though it's after 5:30. But hopefully that helps somebody. Would love to talk about this more if you guys have anything to share or add. But until the next time, I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.